The S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks at the Colombo Bourse hit its highest gains since its inception back in June 2012, gaining 5.25% today. The index closed at 1,847.71. The all-share price index too rose 3.78%, driven by high retail activity in a broad-based rally to reach pre-lockdown levels. Market turnover was 1.06 billion rupees. To discuss more about the stock market and regulatory action due, we have invited to our studios President's Counsel Viraj Dayaratna, who is the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Good evening and a warm welcome.
Good evening. Thank you.
I think I'd like to start off asking you about the closure of the Colombo Stock Exchange. Almost 7 weeks until Monday last week, but then there were shock, I would say, repercussions of the shutdown. But there are accusations that the Colombo Stock Exchange should have continued to operate just as in the region and other parts of the world. However, yes, there are infrastructure difficulties in doing so. But how do you respond to these, this opinion of certain parties as the regulator?
Well, in the very, rather than saying the closure of the market, I would say it was the inability for the market to open and continue with trading. I mean, we must understand these are unprecedented times, and a curfew was imposed by the government, with strict conditions. Unlike most other jurisdictions where they practice a lockdown, we had a curfew in place. So what the Securities and Exchange Commission had to consider was whether the market could function in those circumstances. And we did not take a decision on our own. We had a continuous dialogue with the Colombo Stock Exchange, and we explored the possibility of having the market open. And we not only discussed this issue with the Colombo Stock Exchange, but also with other stakeholders.
Right.
And in fact, the other stakeholders also expressed their concerns. And what we needed to consider was whether it was possible to open the market. I mean, what you want to do and what you can do are two different things. So we need.
But what was the challenge there? Because we are talking about a lot of trading online, facilitated online. But why hasn't Sri Lanka moved into that?
Yeah. So what had to be looked into in the very was whether the market could function. The requirement as far as the regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission was concerned, was whether we could have a fair and an orderly market, not just a market where a particular segment could trade. So although we have automated trading system and online facilities are available for trading, the end-to-end transactions of the market had to be digitized. So we didn't have that capability. We in fact went into the matter very closely. We spoke to the Colombo Stock Exchange. We wanted them to demonstrate the entities that had to be operational, the stakeholders who had to perform their functions, and we also looked at the issues they would have faced during the curfew period, whether it was possible for them to perform their functions, and the challenges and the way out, the solutions. So in this exercise, it was not just a cursory glance at the activities.
Sri Lanka may have missed a lot of opportunities during the 7-week shutdown. This is the view of certain stockbrokers or maybe the market itself, considering how regional markets and the rest of the world has performed even during this COVID-19 threat. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so in the very, it's not a case of the SEC or anybody wanting to keep the market closed. We, as the SEC, as the regulator, we also would have preferred if the market, if it was possible to keep the market open. So it is the issue was whether we could have the market open, whether we had the infrastructure facilities for the market to perform. So as far as if you take, although we are talking of a maybe 7-week period, if you take the working days, the market was closed, it's under 20 days. So it definitely would have had an impact. It is best if it was if we could avoid it. But as I said earlier, the issue here was not to close the market, but the inability of the market to function.
Are we looking at strategies and new policies in order to rectify the situation if a similar situation occurs?
Yeah, so this is, I mean, I'm not trying to blame anybody. The CSC had plans and they took various steps in order to digitize the system. So we need to have an end-to-end digitized market. So in that respect, I have appointed a joint committee comprising members of the SCC and the CSC. I appointed that committee on the 30th of April. The CSC has nominated its members. Now we are working on it. They will, by the 20th, they will come up with a master plan, and we will take this forward and ensure that we don't face a situation like this. Come what may, the market will be ready to operate digitally. So we have learned from...
That's definitely a positive.
That is a positive, I would say, that has come out of COVID-19. We have taken up the challenge, and along with the CSC, it's a partnership, not something that the CSC or the SCC alone can do. All stakeholders will have to get together and ensure that we are capable of having the market open, irrespective of the difficulties we face.
As you share positive news today, market, of course, S&P SL 20 index hits its highest since its inception back in 2012 in June. The all share price index pre-lockdown levels, but this, although there was a shock in circuit breakers on the first 2 days of opening markets since the lockdown, with all this, in your view, what is the outlook for Sri Lankan capital market? And as we talk about other challenges to financial literacy, to infrastructure difficulties, yes, you are working to address it, but what is the outlook?
Yeah, so it's positive. I mean, what we have seen during the last 5 days. Of course, what happened on the first day was totally unexpected. We as a regulator had to ensure that we had a mechanism in place to safeguard the interests of all stakeholders, the investors as well. If there was a sudden unexpected drop in their portfolio value, we had to have a mechanism in place. So the circuit breaker mechanism, although there was some criticism at the beginning, has proved to be a success. I mean that again was not a unilateral or arbitrary decision taken by the SCC. In fact, that was a proposal that the CSC proposed. If in the event there was an unusual drop in the value of the portfolios. So that proved to be a success, and the market has recovered, which is a positive sign. And I heard somebody saying, well, it's not bouncing back, but it's limping back. I think nobody could have expected a sprint or a bouncing back. Limping would be quite all right, because even that is day-to-day life will have to limp back to the new normal. I mean that seems to be what everybody is expecting.
As we talk about bouncing back or limping back, the sustainability of the market is a question.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, this is an unusual situation, unprecedented, and after the Second World War, I think these are the worst times we are seeing. So I think we should be hopeful. We are a resilient country. We have seen worse times. We have bounced back. I think today we are commemorating the defeat of the 30-year-long terrorist war. So we have to have a positive outlook. And I, as chairman of the SCC, I'm confident. I hope we will get over this negativity and be optimistic and positive.
Very quickly, before we go into the currency details of today's performance, what's the status of the SCC Act? It was on and off the table.
Yes, well, it has taken a long period to see a positive outcome. It was the new act was actually introduced in Parliament, but it could not be taken up for debate. And now, after the dissolution, we will have to pursue that. The new government is in place, so new government will also have to consider that. That has a lot of positive provisions, the new act, which will strengthen the regulatory framework as well as help foster investor confidence. And we also have the demutualization bill, where the stock exchange will be demutualized from a guarantee company to a shareholding company, and that will also improve the governance structure. And all these steps put together I think will prove helpful for the development of the capital market of Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much, and I think I have adequately spoken to the regulator, facilitator, brokers and players of the market, and everyone's optimistic, so definitely positive times ahead. Thank you very much. We had with us Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission President's Council, Viraj Daratna, joining us.